So welcome everyone to the DAO Foundation Synergy Open Session. You all know that we're gathered here today because there was an expressing need to connect and think about the expectations that the DAO has about the foundation. And to start, first I want to say that I've identified 3 big areas of interest that have been signaled as important by the community these last couple of weeks. And the 3 of them are deeply interdependent. So we can move between each of them. But if we can structure the discussions based on that areas, would be great. That areas are basically transparency, roadmap, and communications and participation. I would like to keep conversations around them. But again, this is an open session. So everyone is invited to share their thoughts, comments, even if they are not related with those areas. Remember, all of you, all parts involved, that the foundation and the DAO are separate organizations and there's not formal hierarchy. Okay, so this meeting has to be about goals alignment, collaboration, and setting expectations of all involved parts. Remember to discuss and focus on ideas, not on people. Please take that into account before sharing anything. And the other thing that I wanted to say is that in order to present our ideas and thoughts in another way, we'll try to keep it short. So let's say 2 or 3 minutes each speaker. If anyone comes after that speaker can continue to talk, but let's try to give everyone the opportunity to participate. If needed, we can extend the time, no problem, but let's try to keep it simple. Wanted also to say that this will be kept as a 1-hour session that could extend for a couple more minutes if needed again, or if it's needed, we can have another session next week or just move to other voice channels here in the Discord. As already said, and as always, this meeting is going to be recorded. We're going to put together a summary with the discussions, and if we reach some actionable points, also will be there. So with all that said, I invite you all to participate on this, to join the stage, and to start sharing your thoughts and ideas. So who wants to come first? I know last time you wanted to join the stage. So, okay. Remember, anyone, that if you want to talk, raise your hands, and I'll invite you to the stage. Again, let's try to keep it simple and short. But yeah, this is the way we're going to work today. Hey, Lastrom.
Can everybody hear me?
I can hear you.
Can you hear me okay? Okay, great. I appreciate the formalities because we have foundation people here, but I'm not going to keep it short and it's not going to be simple. I asked to have this meeting in public because you asked to have it in private. So I had a list of talking points that I would like to discuss with the larger community, and I would like to go through those. So you summarize them into transparency and whatever you did, but in the strategy thread, you can tag that into this voice chat. Those are the topics I want to discuss. So the formalities are great, but we don't need to put on a show because the foundation is here. There are serious issues that we need to discuss as a DAO because there is no hierarchy and there is no accountability. And I laid those points out clearly.
The formalities are
the strategy session.
Be organized in a better way, not because of the foundation. Actually, didn't know that the foundation members were going to join. So please, let's try to keep it simple. I'm not saying you have to expose everything in 3 minutes now, but because it's the opening statement. But let's try to keep it this way, because I know that a lot of community members want to share comments and thoughts. So yeah, this has nothing to do with the foundation.
Okay, well, I asked for the meeting. I asked for the meeting and I asked for it to be public. So at least I would just ask for a little more. I asked for the meetings, so I would hope to have a little more time than 3 minutes to talk about
that's
the points.
That's why I'm saying. That's why I'm saying.
Okay, thank you. So
start, go, and then let's try to keep it simple.
Okay, I'll continue. Yeah. No, it's not simple. The funny fact is that the foundation, you didn't even know they were here. So that just shows the lack of synergy that don't show up to these calls. It's unfortunate. I hope they continue. And I think it's time as a DAO that we go through these bullet points that I laid out in the strategy session, in the strategy thread. And I'm going to pull them up right now. and I'm going to go through those one by one because that's as simple as I can make it. So I think needs to be some transparency. And that transparency comes from hiring them or delegating them to build reference client. And that was in a proposal passed in our DAO on February 14th, February 20th. I have the link here that I will post. And it passed. And I will post in the voice chat right now. And everybody can read this. So this is what I'm. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, you were breaking up.
Yeah, but not. Yep.
Is this better?
Still with metal voice and cutting out.
Okay. Is it better?
No, not getting better.
One second.
Yeah, no problem, no problem. Let's wait.
Is this better?
Way better, yeah.
Way
Is this
Yeah, it sounds way better.
okay? Okay. So, what all this is a lack of transparency and the lack of communication and accountability to the foundation. The proposal I posted in the voice chat of the town hall meeting outlines how the DAO went through the proposal and delegated the work for the plan. And the foundation had 12 months on a rolling basis to build the reference client and lay things out in that proposal. One of them being collaborative effort as well. So clearly, those two have not happened because not one of us in this call new client coming out or being worked on.
Sorry, last time it's not. We're not able to understand anything.
Yeah, it's coming up again.
Okay. Is Discord having issues?
Yeah, probably. I tried to reset, rejoin.
That might help.
That's what happened to me a couple of times. So.
Okay.
Yeah, that was I was going to say, Gino. If anyone wants to jump into the stage and start sharing some thoughts in the meanwhile, will be great. But again, after this statement, this opening statement, we'll open it again for everyone. And if you want to jump now or after last round comments, please raise your hands and I'll invite you to the stage. Jindra, I invited you to the stage if you want to share something.
Hi, thank you. I was wondering, what is the process for becoming a landowner or a stakeholder there so that you can start to actually build something out? And I also did notice that there were grant holders who had funds available, and if you could explain that process.
Yeah, Jindra, this meeting is not about that precisely,
Okay.
But yeah, I'll reach out after this meeting to you. We'll share some guidelines and tutorials.
Sure,
so
and if you just send a link in a chat, I'll follow up and just DIY it. I'm sorry to be off topic.
No problem at all. I'll reach out, or Franco, eBay will reach out, so no problem with that.
Thank you.
Storm, you're back. And I can't hear you. Not hearing anything. Anyone else that wants to join? I'm not going to recommend moving to Google Meet because of something that happened with the last session. But yeah, let's see how this works, and if it doesn't work, we can move to Meet. But again, in the meanwhile, if anyone wants to join the stage, this is the moment. Morris,
Yeah, can't hear more.
if you're talking, yeah, I cannot hear you. Yeah, Discord is not working well.
But Google Meet was pretty terrible earlier, so.
Yeah. Google Meet wasn't good. Try rejoining again. If it doesn't work, let's move to Google Meet.
Maybe I'll just step down from here. Maybe that'll help. I don't know. I'll leave the stage.
I don't think that's going to help, but let's try it. Okay, well, let's join. I'll share Google. Okay, Maurice, you can try again. Not hearing you. Let's try with Google Meet. Do not share this link with anyone, please. I'm only going to accept people that we know from the DAO because of something that happened a couple of minutes ago. So yeah, let's join the Google Meet. Let's go ahead, Lastrom, and start.
Okay, yeah. So
start over, please, because we didn't hear anything.
Okay, sorry about that. I wanted to have this call because one, Fez, as you just noted, you didn't realize the foundation was even on this call. So it's funny that we as DAO members and people on DAO squads or committees don't even know that the foundation is joining. So the lack of synergy is already apparent.
I have to interrupt you there. They were invited. They have it on their calendars. But I didn't know what people was going to join. So no, there's not a lack of communication.
There is because that never happened before. So it's just funny that we now have that as we're talking about holding the foundation accountable. And so I just posted it in the chat. If anybody doesn't have it, please ask in the chat, because if you join after a link is posted in a Google Meet, you won't see it. The link is to a proposal where the DAO voted to delegate the work for the reference client to the foundation. So just some backup. The foundation is a nonprofit separate from the DAO. The foundation has their own vesting contract that they get paid from. The DAO has their own contract, which funds grants and all kinds of different things. So separate entities individually with their own treasury. So one entity hired or delegated work to the other entity with some things outlined in this proposal that I linked. One being a collaborative workspace, also having a roadmap. So I wanted to discuss these bullet points, which I will copy and paste from Discord because we had to move to here. I'll paste them in the voice chat as things to talk about regarding this proposal, because I don't think a lot of things have happened. And as a grantee, as a developer in the space for 5 years, as a person that's created a company that has been hired by Samsung and big brands for hundreds of thousands of dollars and have had to deliver projects for a grantee or for big brands, I've been held accountable for way more than the foundation has. And I'm sure a lot of other grantees as well. So I think it's time as a DAO, we start putting weight behind what we do. And I listed these in bullet points. And the bullet points, they're pretty simple, Fez. They're very simple. We don't have any check-ins with the foundation. We just trust them blindly to build the reference client. And what I mentioned earlier before I got cut off is we didn't know as a community that there was a new client until the AMA in Q4. Where throughout the year did anybody hear that there was a client version 2? That's a rhetorical question because it didn't happen. Now, if there was a roadmap, we might have known that. If there was a collaborative effort between the foundation and the DAO, we might have known that, but we don't. So that's a very glaring example of lack of communication, synergy, transparency, collaboration, accountability. Secondly, we do have an AMA. I asked Yummo if the browser would be continued. He originally said no, and I'm pointing that out because there's an interaction between me and him. You can go back to the tape and listen to it. And then he walked it back and said, well, we don't know what's the future, et cetera. Again, a decision made by the foundation at the best interest of apparently us without our input, transparency, synergy, collaboration, accountability. VRM was also asked, and we were responded with, that is not a priority. Again, in the best interest from the foundation to the DAO, that VRM is not a priority to apparently us without collaboration, communication, transparency, and accountability. So it's a very simple thing, but it can get very complex. And so you outline those topics, and I outlined the bullet points of what I think can happen and change. Today we had a town hall in the DAO, and the announcement tag said DAO committee update. Well, I asked who's on the DAO committee. There is no DAO committee. There's a security advisory board, there's a wearable committee, there's a revocation committee, there's a grant support squad, there's a facilitation squad. There is no DAO committee. So I think we need to clean up our nomenclature and definitions of internal structures so that we can be more transparent, collaborative, accountable with the foundation. That's number one in my bullet point. It's in there. I think also technical support. Technical support is brutal from the foundation. It's very difficult as a developer of 5 years to get a straight answer. I don't know if that's a lack of resources, lack of understanding, but if the DAO is supposed to take over operations in, 5 years, let's say, I think we should start seriously considering technical people to take some work off the foundation so that they can build the reference client and do their job, which we assign to them. And when we assign a job to somebody, as I was talking about earlier, there's accountability. There's check-ins. Even as a grantee, every month I talk with Pablo, and I have to go post on Notion. I have to go and post on the grant proposal page update. I have to post in the the DAO page. I have to post in the forum. There's a lot of stuff to do. So we don't do that at all with the foundation. So imagine for a second, we go to the real world. You want to renovate a house. You say, hey, contractor, I'm going to let you build my house. I don't have access to your funds, but I'm going to trust you to build my house to my best interest. You don't have to check in with me. You don't have to even provide me a scope of work. You don't even have to provide anything. You just tell me at every quarter what you're going to do or what's happening. That would not exist in the real world. If you hire somebody for a job or delegate a task, the financially responsible thing to do, especially when there's money involved, is to check in, make sure they're doing the work. The problem with our DAO is we don't have access to the foundation investing. So how can we hold them accountable? Where's the recourse if the foundation doesn't do what we like or doesn't live up to their roadmap? Where's the recourse? We can't just say we're pulling your funds like a grant. We can't do that. All we can do is pass another proposal that says you're no longer working on the reference client. Thank you so much. So again, our DAO means nothing. And we can talk about that separately, linked wearables and registries and points of interest and catalysts. That's all great, but you know what? If the main entry point to Decentraland via the reference client isn't up to snuff, there's no point for anything else. So we got to have accountability, transparency, communication as laid out in the proposal with the foundation. And that transparency, accountability, collaboration, synergy comes from knowing who's working on what. The foundation had at one point 100 people working there. I was one of them for 2 years. I got let go in January. The foundation now has about 60 people, I believe. And I'm speaking in rough terms. Somebody can check me on that. We don't know who's working on what. I think when you hire somebody, it's nice to know who's working on what. Now, I don't need to know if I hire a general contractor, how many subcontractors they have. But when I have $1 billion platform, I would like to know how many engineers are working on the reference client, the new client, the SDK, APIs. We don't know what's going on. So identifying something as simple as an organization chart and having that updated monthly is my bullet point, I think is something that is easily done and would satisfy so much transparency that there's no secret sauce given away from the foundation. So that was one of my bullet points. I would say liaisons with the foundation. Perfect example. Today, we had to reach out, whoever did, to the foundation and set up this meeting and invite them. That's great. That has never happened before. And I know we talked about the DAO now facilitates the AMAs. Great, but who does that? Whose job is that? Is it the facilitation squad? Okay, let's define that and let's put parameters around the liaison requirements and components with the foundation. I talked about renaming the committees because there is no DAO committee. I talked about maybe creating a committee. So we know, go to Fez, go to Gino. Gino or Zeno are product managers. They work on the web application for the DAO. That's it. HP, he signs things with the multi-sig wallet. Doesn't do anything else. And I'm not minimizing it. What I'm saying is identifying the roles clearly so that we know if you have a support problem, if you have a website problem, if you have a transparency problem, if you have a facilitation problem, you can go here, here, and here. I would also say there's a conference coming up in May from the foundation. Pointless. Community-driven event, I think it's pointless. What good is going to come out of that? DAO sends money as swag bag to grantees, pointless. That money should go to marketing Decentraland at conferences. Decentraland, I've been there. I've been to NFT NYC in 2021. I met Agus, I met Shibu, I met Toonpunk, I met Ari. Ari is the co-founder, Agus was the executive director, Toonpunk was the creative director, and Shibu was the art director. 4 major people from Decentraland. Do you want to know in the height of 2021 NFT NYC, the #1 Decentraland piece of marketing? Decentral Games. Decentral Games had a Times Square ad that had a little DCL logo under it. That's it. That's all that Decentraland had, right? So I think there needs to be a serious conversation about why we're spending money on internal conferences. Is it to appease the community for some level of transparency? Okay, but I would like to see more external stuff. Go to Game Developer Conference. Go to these other dev cons. Go to NFT NYC. Go to these things. Promote the product. That's what I mean by funds for attending major conferences. I also mean review all foundation finances and roles. This can be maybe more internal if the foundation doesn't want to give all that detail away. But if we're to trust somebody to build something for us and they have their own treasury, how can we hold them accountable? How do we know that they're spending the money on the delegation that we asked them and not on the SDK editor or the SDK or whatever? How do we know their vesting contract, the portion that is set aside for the delegate reference client is going to that delegation? So I think there needs to be a total review of that. With that, to the foundation again, update the organization chart. Who's working on what? If there's the head of engineering leaves, maybe we should probably know that. If there's a new head of engineering, maybe we should know that. The head of marketing leaves, maybe we should know that. And I'm not comparing this to any other corporation. I've worked for public companies. I've worked for private companies. I know how they all work. Stakeholders versus shareholders. I understand that. That is not this, okay? That is not this. Secondly, I think the foundation does a really bad job of communicating with its developer community. And this will be the last point. I, as a developer, I brought this up in August to 2 people at the foundation. I asked for a collaborative effort between the foundation and the top developers. And I was told that we might marginalize or minimize the little guys in the space, and it was too hard to do to get them all collective. I disagree completely. Once a month, once a week, twice a month, once a quarter, Decentraland from the foundation outbound, not me as last room or last slice asking, but Decentraland doesn't reach out at all to its developers in one space and say, developer conference, developer AMA. Not one. So as a developer, it's really difficult to hear about feature updates when the user base also hears those. If you look at the Roblox developer conference or the Roblox investor conference, just the investor conference, you would get more developer insight than you would at Decentraland or at Decentraland's community offsite. So there's a lack of transparency, communication, collaboration on that front as well. And the final part is that roadmap. Look at the Roblox, type in Roblox roadmap. You'll get to a splash page that says, click here for full roadmap. That is a roadmap. And a roadmap is not product marketing. A roadmap is not general marketing. A roadmap is not a manifesto. A roadmap is not an AMA. A roadmap is not an RFI. And a roadmap is not a canny. A roadmap is designed to show you what will be worked on in a time frame. And I think what will be worked on in a time frame needs to be decided by the people delegating that work to the people doing the work. It's very common sense. And we lose a lot of that in the metaverse. Common sense. I'm hiring you to do a job. What are you going to do for me? How are you going to get it done and when? Very simple. So I'll finish with this. These topics can be complex, but they're very simple, Fez. Very, very simple. Apply common sense and see if it makes sense with the foundation. And I'm not saying the foundation needs to fire or hire or anything drastic. All I'm saying is we need to start holding the foundation accountable for the work we ask or delegate or hire them to do. Because otherwise our DAO is meaningless, literally meaningless. And so that's all I wanted to say. I know I said a lot. I'll read the comments as other people talk.
Thanks a lot, Lastrom. Yeah, this basically summarizes everything that has been discussed these couple of weeks. So I invite you all again. This is not the stage in the Discord, so it's not about inviting someone to speak, but if you want to say something, please raise your hands and then open, well, I'll give you the word. So if anyone from the community or the foundation wants to continue, or to share some thoughts or comments on what Lastrom said, please do it. Jamil, perfect. Just open your mic.
Hi, Fede. Hi, Lastrom. Hi, everyone here. Thank you, Lastrom, for presenting. I want to give you my perspective. So first, let me go through the different things that Foundation has been doing in order to foster the synergy. I know Lastrom mentioned a few, and he doesn't believe that complies with the definition of the roadmap, but I think it's valuable to review them. So historically, Foundation has been publishing a manifesto in January saying what are the big things the organization wants to work. I think the delegation, that's something that have been done for the past 2 years. I haven't been really involved in that process. My perspective is a formality because, as Lastrom said, there is not a payment nor a way for hold accountable Foundation for that. So I don't believe that the governance proposal is understood as the DAO is hiring Foundation for that sense. And I believe that governance proposal needs to be reviewed. And I think this is maybe a good way on getting into February with a better agreement on how that.
Okay, so wait, GTMO, really quick. So in February.
Please,
really quick. Hold on, no, I just want to respond. No more gaslighting. No, in February, when this proposal has to be renewed, are you saying if it doesn't get renewed, do you guys still work on
Lastrom, please let Jamil end and then you can respond, please. Let's try to keep it civil. Whenever he ends the statement, you can respond. But let him
He
talk,
ended his
please.
statement. He started another one. No, the point is,
he didn't.
the proposal ends in February. It ends in February. We have to renew it. What happens if it doesn't get renewed, Yemel? Do you guys still work on the reference client?
I'm sorry, that's true. I don't think this is a good way to proceed the conversation. I think I give you a lot of space to present your thoughts, and I want to have the same privilege.
Yep, go ahead, Chairman, please. And wait, everyone wait till he finalizes his statement for asking questions or continue the discussions.
Thank you, Fed. So let me continue with a recap of the ways we communicate. So Foundation have been publishing a manifesto, and I think during 2 years, that manifesto was somehow reshuffled in the delegation of the reference client. Then the foundation every quarter publishes an update of what they ship, and also some highlights of what is going to be working on the next cycle. So we had 4 updates during the year with those recaps and also highlights on what's next. Also, the DAO has established a request for information process in which we have been cooperating as well. Maybe that process is not fast enough, and I'm super willing to review it as well with Fede or who wants to also contribute to that. But that process has been established, and we have been following the framework established there. I also have to remind that I joined the Decentraland Foundation as a executive director this year. So, so for the past 7 months, I have been working in this role. Since I entered, we changed the way we work. Now we have development cycles of 8 weeks. So at the end of the cycle, we host a all hands community meeting in which we present the updates, the things we ship, and also we tease what is next for the next cycle. We really don't have previsibility on way farther than that. The first project that we are doing that requires a lot of planning is the new client that was mentioned. So we are planning to work and invest a lot of resources in that project for the next cycles. This is the first cycle that we're accommodating most of the capacity to that project. Then we received feedback about the initiatives that we shipped. In general, the UX design team does user interviews with different community members to get feedback and to plan for next initiatives. I do personally review on monthly basis with the head of support, like the 20 tickets more important in the month, and I do follow up on important things like scams and many important things that maybe we didn't fix in the support, but maybe we can queue an initiative for engineer to really fix the problem. And then other things such as Kani, and every time we do this cycle planning, we review the initiatives and make sure that if there is any validation on the community side, on the DAO, or in a poll that validates that the community wants this, and we really bump in priority the initiatives that the community gives strong feedback about that initiative into the queue. So we really make it the community and the opinion on the priorities. And I think that's what we have been doing for a while. And like Cesar here past 7 months. I think I can be proud that the team is shipping at a really good way. Before I joined in, I think the foundation was missing the shipping deadlines, having projects that extend for 8 months, and all that changed. Now I think we're quite focused on shipping at good rhythm, good pace. We have visibility for what's due for the next 8 weeks, so the current cycle.
Wait, sorry, Yamo, did you say something?
Continue, Shimel, please. Please raise your hands to ask questions and let him finish.
Yeah. So I think that's overall the different things we do. But so that's a summary. Then to address some of the points that the last room make about the DAO committee, a new name could be helpful for everyone to understand their responsibility, but they exist. Like Risk, Kilian, and Tobik has been signing transactions and managing like a treasury. Regarding accountability, the mandate of foundation is to do the best for the Decentraland platform, and for sure the input of the community is critical to understand and to plan what's next. I think the misalignment here is that foundation is working directly for the DAO and it should follow direct DAO directions. I think that's a point that I'm not completely agree about the picture that Lastrom is drawing. And I see a lot of concerns regarding going into that direction. It like open up completely transparent, like who are the contractors, who is working on what's in the pipeline, and having like the whole community discussing about like the organization and planning of work. I really see that as a problem on that point. We can discuss about features. We can discuss. I think we can work a lot more on communication, but we are already doing a lot communicating. Maybe the core disagreement is about like this vision of foundation is working to execute Lastrom vision or like an individual community member. So I think that's the core. Like, should foundation be opening to a vote like every initiative we want to do, or we need to execute blindly any initiative that was proposed by any community member? I think that process is hard because in order to actually execute technology, you need to have a lot of understanding, and I think that's hard to make it in the public. So that's my opinion. I believe the DAO and foundation are two separated entities which have a lot of funding, and we both care for the best for Decentraland, and foundation really want to make a priority of what the community wants, but also we have the agenda of what we believe is the best for Decentraland, and also the codex we have been maintaining. And that's it.
Thanks a lot, Jamil. Nikki wants to share some comments and thoughts, so open your mic, please, and just go ahead. And then Lastrom.
Thanks. I'll keep it short. So I just wanted to ask, where does the line being drawn between what the foundation wants to do with the platform and the community? Like, where is that hard line?
You want to answer, Shemil, or want Lastrom first to say something?
I have ADHD, so I'd rather the question be answered first before we move on to another topic.
Okay.
Hey, Nikki, how you doing? Where we draw could you repeat the question? Where we draw the line between what the foundation wants and what the DAO wants?
Yes, like how does that dictate your roadmap and like what you decide to do and what takes priority?
Yeah. So in order to organize the work of 60 people, we define a strategy for the cycle, and all the people in foundation that have the skills, in general our product managers and engineer managers, propose initiatives that are aligned with that strategy. And they draw a lot of input from community, the CANI, the government proposals, the polls, and so in that sense, we're feeding from what the community wants, but we're eventually only evaluating to execute initiatives that have been shaped and are prepared for delegating to a team to execute. So that's, I think, where we draw the line. We are inspired by what the community suggests and talks in the public, but in order to evaluate what is next in the next 8 weeks, we need to have a clear roadmap on how to execute that initiative and how many resources we need to allocate, and that's a job from product managers and engineering managers.
Okay, so to back off of that, was the community dev surveyed at all when thinking about what features to migrate from SDK 6 to SDK 7? I understand that you guys outsource that work, but was that surveyed to like figure out what the community wants, like what features are more important to upgrade first?
Yeah, the Nico Ershaw is a product manager, and he shapes a lot of the initiatives we do. He was managing the survey, and he has all the input.
Okay.
Because
sorry.
the reason I asked that is because the Infinity engine has like gotten the backseat on all of this migration and updating, and whether you guys like from Broomway or not, it's a pillar in the community, and the fact that that one core feature that runs our entire game hasn't been addressed at all is really frustrating as a community dev who's been here for 2 years and started my whole journey here on this platform. Like, it's really frustrating that you guys have to jump through these hoops to get this one feature out there. I understand it's a heavy lift, but if we have people like Broomway who are willing to offset that for you guys and help you with that, I don't understand why that's not something that you guys proactively do.
Okay, so thanks for your comments and questions, Nikki. I'll pass it to Lastrom now, so, and then to Gino.
Okay. I appreciate that. I don't agree with you at all, Yemo, in the sense that you guys don't even agree on an internal roadmap. Based on that proposal, if you read it, it says a collaborative effort with the DAO committee or DAO members on a roadmap. I don't believe that ever happened. And you cannot gaslight us and say it's with CANI and RFIs. If you're going to operate a dev community like that by saying, hey, dev, submit this form, we'll decide what we want to work on. We won't tell you which ones make it to find out in the next AMA. That's terrible. Terrible way to run. And if anybody thinks otherwise, you're just being gathered. Because how can you say you're going to include the community if all you're doing is cherry picking what the community wants? So it's all reactionary. That's what I hate about Decentraland. Everything has become reactionary. There's no proactivity with the DAO and the foundation. So when you say we're coming up with a roadmap, yes, the foundation is. But there's no engineer or software developer collaboration outside of the foundation with that roadmap. It's all done internally. And I'm just raising the question, is that acceptable for us as a DAO when we delegate that work to somebody else? I personally, based on the proposal that was enacted, say that is not satisfactory. I feel like the DAO at a technical level needs to have input. And here, you know what, Yemel? Instead of talking to us like it's a presentation and having a conversation, it just makes it more fishy. You could easily say, you know what, Lashram, you're right. Let's get together and let's have your ideas on the right as a community. They're not my ideas. These aren't my ideas. The community ideas on the right, the foundation ideas on the left. And then at the bottom, our engineers and your engineers at the DAO will come together on what's feasible and prioritize them down at the bottom as a denominator for a roadmap. If you can't agree to that, we've lost hope as a developer community. You could have your engineers shoot down 100% of the community ideas or topics or priorities based on a technicality, and that would be even more sufficient than just not including us at all.
Thanks, Lastrom. Gino, you want to jump?
Yeah, I just wanted to give it a try at clarifying on Nikki's question. At least that's how I see it personally, and that's how I explain it to others in terms of foundation, DAO, and the whole ecosystem. So Decentraland is a complex ecosystem that has multiple layers. One is a protocol layer, the other one is a client layer. Any changes related to the protocol layer needs to go through the DAO, and that's the core of the Decentraland ecosystem, and that's why Decentraland is important and different from other products. And then on the client, like on the client side, on the client roadmap or definition, the foundation takes the lead and the responsibility on delivering on that. My personal view is one of the main problems that we have as an ecosystem is that we only have one client, right? Let's think out how, I don't know how internet works. Like if you change the HTTP protocol, you will basically break all the web pages. But if you change something on your browser, well, that's gonna make your experience better or worse. I think that's a good way of seeing this, and that's why sometimes we see proposals in the DAO from the foundation or from community members regarding the protocol that needs to go through the DAO and needs to be approved by the community, and some others like features and things like that currently do not go through the DAO. I'm not saying that this is right or wrong. That's how I see it, and that's how I explain this to others when they ask me, okay, how Decentraland works.
Thanks, Gino. Miss, you want to jump into the conversation?
Yeah, so I just want to bring up how frustrating it is from the development side, especially around the holidays. So it seems like for some reason Decentraland, I don't know if it's intentional or not, if they're just not aware of holidays and what are kind of the peak event times for users in Decentraland. But we had issues before Halloween while we were getting things done, and now we've had some issues during the Christmas stuff, just trying to get ready. And this is before even a future upcoming thing. I understand maybe it's December 18th or something like that, where the web address URLs, for many things in Decentraland, whether it's like playdecentraland.org or the marketplace or whatever else it is, that these are going to be changed. And so, this is something that's going to happen and potentially break certain things and functionality for scenes and other things in Decentraland right before the holidays, which is, number one, we have people that are creating events for this peak time when people have off work and maybe we're going to be playing in Decentraland. In addition to that, some of our people of the development side would maybe like to, take a rest and do some stuff with their family, which they may not be able to because they may be having to work around the clock to deal with whatever repercussions, intentional or unintentional, that occur around this. So, I would like to know why the foundation and why the development seems to occur, big developments, right before major events and holidays. That's what's really interesting to me, because that really heavily affects the development side.
Thanks, Miss. Okay, I can recall that Lastrom mentioned something about marketing, and Kim was willing to give some answers to that. So I don't know, Lastrom, if you want to add something to what Miss just said, you want to say anything else, or we can give the space to Kim to share.
I just have one question. Just one more question for Yemo.
Okay.
Simple yes or no. If the DAO does not create a new proposal of February 2024 to delegate the reference client work to the foundation, will the foundation continue working on the reference client, yes or no?
Yes, for sure.
So the DAO's pointless. The DAO is pointless then. Thank you. You proved my point.
Welcome, Lastrom.
So you're ruining, and your satire and cynicism is in sarcasm doesn't land well with me, because I'm starting to get pissed off, Yemel, as a developer in the space that's been around for a while, and I see other technologies opening up. People are leaving. You have Vroomway, myself, others on this call that are developers that are just using the grant fund. No one's in the Decentraland. You're not even open to what or hearing what we're saying. You're gaslighting us and presenting to us instead of communicating with us. You have some of the top minds in the space asking you for transparency and asking you for things, and you just invalidated the DAO. You literally just invalidated it and then made it a sarcastic joke. And it's clear that the foundation's attitude towards the DAO is a joke. And you just highlighted that. It's so unfair. It's so unbecoming. It's so disheartening that you guys are ruining the capability that you have in front of you.
I have to disagree, Lastrum, on that. I believe I'm here in this meeting. I believe your tone is really violent, even though I'm trying to be respectful with you. That's my point.
No one's being violent. I just asked you a question, and
You remind me the last presidential election here in Argentina, the debate, one president candidate asking the other question for yes or no. That's violent, in my opinion.
No, that's a conversation. That's not a presentation.
How would you do it, Lastrum? Imagine that you need to organize the work of 60 people on development.
Well, you know what, Yemel, we entrusted you to do that. And all I'm asking is for you to include us in the decision making. And then guess what? I asked you a simple question. I said, will you continue to work on the work if we don't delegate it to you? And you said yes. So my point is, what are we doing here as a DAO? What are we doing here?
So there are multiple responsibilities that the DAO holds currently. Actually, you got a few grants from the DAO. I also got grants from the DAO. So I wouldn't say that it's pointless. Another thing that the DAO does is holding some of the most critical smart contracts of the project. So even though I believe there's a lot of room for improvement, especially on the communications on the dev side, I wouldn't say the word is pointless.
If anything I brought up is pointless to enact, you're right, we are pointless. And smart contracts and managing them in terms of how you actually access, like you're saying, oh, we manage the database for Decentraland and how great, that's great. But if we can't connect to it because the company we delegate the work to doesn't do good work or is not accountable for that work, what's the point of managing the database, the smart contracts?
It's what makes the project different.
Well, it doesn't work, is my point. So again, as a DAO, what are we going to do? When the foundation continues to work on the reference client and they don't have a proposal enacted in February, what are we going to do as a DAO? What do we have that will say we can do something differently? Crickets, because we can't. And so again, the visibility, accountability, collaboration of the foundation vesting contract. I have a question. Does the SDK include the reference client delegated work? Yes or no, Yemel?
That's from again, I refuse to work in that kind of framework of yes or no questions.
If the foundation director cannot answer if the SDK work is included in the delegation of the reference client with a yes or no, I mean, I don't know how much more simple you can get than that. And if you think that's violent, that's so apparent of your viewpoints of how we operate.
I can tell you that the mission of foundation, the Decentraland Foundation, on one side is to be protector in the physical world of the Decentraland trademark. The DAO at the moment doesn't have a legal entity to own private property or intellectual property, such as the name, the brand, and many other assets that are related to the brand. At the moment, those are delegated to foundation, or that's the de facto. And the vision and the mission of the Decentraland Foundation to do their best to foster the development of the platform, and they will continue to doing that while the foundation exists. I would love to understand what's the best way for me to improve my work. And it's like having a meeting with you every 2 weeks to define what would be next in the 8-week cycle. That would be the best solution. Can you represent the opinions of the whole community?
That's what I asked Yemo, but I don't want to be violent. So if somebody else could ask the exact same question I just asked. Is the SDK work included in the work delegated reference client or no? Can somebody ask that to Yemo so that they will answer, because apparently I'm too violent. It's yes or no, Yemo.
SDK
You're
work
right.
included.
We don't know who's working on what.
The SDK is part of the protocol, and it's something that we work with alongside also with the protocol squad. In general, updates to the SDK 7 protocol, we check with them, and we will continue working on that for sure.
So I know you can't say yes or no because you have no idea what's going on. But again, is the SDK work included in the reference client work? Yes or no?
Okay, let's Trump, please stop attacking Jamal.
Answer the
Let's
question.
try
That's
to
not an
again
attack.
keep it civil.
It's literally a yes or no.
Please, you're not like.
Fez, if you mute me one more
Well,
time,
you're
everyone
being-
on this.
You're not like using the rules that we established. I mean, it's raise your hand, do not attack people, try to focus on ideas. So
It's a simple
like
question.
asking the
It's an
same
idea.
question.
Is the SDK work under the delegated reference client work? Yes or no? Answer. Now
Probably
you're
not.
just pissing me off because you won't answer. And everybody sees it. Come on, everybody sees it. I'm the only one asking. That's why I'll be the bad guy. I'll take the fall for everybody. No one will stand up to the foundation. It's a simple question. Somebody else ask it in a less violent tone. Is the SDK considered work under the delegated reference client work? Yes or no?
I mean, it is a very good question. I personally would like to hear the answer. I mean, if yes or no is issue, perhaps you want to give us a fluff answer, but at the end, if you say yes or maybe no.
So when you develop a scene inside Decentraland, you have to use a language. We use TypeScript. Those messages are sent. There is a standard interface between the JavaScript environment and the engine, the Unity engine, or the engine that is rendering the Decentraland world. For example, we have alternative implementations in Godot and maybe as well. So the SDK, we understand it's that definition of the protocol. When we talk about the reference client, we are mostly describing the engine that renders the thing. So if you said reference client, I believe the SDK it's outside of the scope. So I would say no. However, we work on that for sure to continue improving what you can do as a creator in Decentraland. For example, if we want to improve the locomotion, if we want to make the creators able to, the avatar be able to interact with, for example, to climb or to swim, those are components that need to be included in the SDK and then included in the reference client. So I think the short answer is no. SDK is part of the protocol. Reference client is the renderer.
Thank you for the most clarified answer of the day. The follow-up is, if you have different people at the foundation working on different things, is it that egregious or violent to ask how many resources are working on the delegated work that we give you versus the other work at hand, like the SDK? Is that so egregious to ask?
I cannot answer that right now. At the moment, we are not doing it, and I see many risks on open up who is doing what.
By saying we have 10 people working on the reference client, you asked us to do work and we have 10 people doing that, there's a risk there?
Yeah, it's a risk on where do we draw the line about the level of transparency, because you start by disclosing the number of people, and then you want to know the access to the description of the project, and that could be really invasive on people doing their work, like having a lot of eyes checking everything. And how is that productive? What's the feedback loop? What do you want to do with that information? Because if we are not part of the company and you don't have access to talk with that people, how the information really helps you?
It helps me because the point is we hired you to do a task. And if we don't know, we don't have control of the funds from the foundation. So there's no way to know if the funds every month that you have are going towards what you're working on that's not a part of what we asked you to work on. And as a grantee and somebody that's been hired by Samsung and other brands, I have to tell them who is working on what. As a grantee, I have to lay that out. Okay, exactly. So you can interrupt me, but I can't. So where's the muting of YAML? Okay. So again, if we're asking the DAO is asking grantees to identify where the funds are going and who working on. Why is it so risky to ask the foundation just the head count? Just, hey, we've got 10 people working on what you asked us to do. How is that risky? And it gets back to YAML, follow-up, part 2. We need to know, because if you're not doing a good job, we don't want to hire you in February. It's pretty simple. Again, this is not complex stuff. You hire a group of people to do a task. They are supposed to agree on what that task is and the timeline. We as a community are not included in what the task is. I know it can get very granular, so let's keep it we're not included in that. You guys go build stuff. It's not up to par. You change it. You create a new client. We didn't ask for that. We don't know who's working on what. We can't withdraw your funds. All I'm asking is to be included in what you guys are working on. Again, common sense. You guys have a team of developers. The DAO does. And maybe your team of developers is 1,000,000 times smarter than anybody the DAO can produce. And that's okay. But you know what? At least we have a seat at the table of what will be worked on by the team that we are hiring.
I want to repeat that I disagree with the comparison that the DAO is hiring foundation, because of the exact point that you are making, that foundation, the DAO is not paying foundation for doing the work. And I believe that's the core of how the same example doesn't work. The second point is, if I want to include the community and this is an open question, if I want to include the community in a meeting, who should I invite? Or should I do like more on async governance proposal style on should the foundation do this? Because when we discuss about the DAO is a group of people. It's a huge entity. And also designing it just by inviting a few members doesn't make it a good way. Should the DAO elect these people to have regular meetings with me and the foundation? That's the point in which I really need help to understand how I can include the whole community in that discussion. Having just a meeting with 3 of you really sounds like I could pick the people I want, and I don't think it defeats the purpose of opening to the community and really valuing the community voice.
Thanks, Jamal. And Nikki, you wanted, I wanted to say just we are like past over time. So we have time for 1 or 2 more questions. Nikki, if you want to jump now, then we'll follow up with last from another question. And then again, if you all agree and if Kim thinks that it's still reasonable and it's still important to state the marketing thing, we'll do that. And after that, we're starting to give closure to this. And yeah, again, we can have another meeting with the community. We can invite again the foundation, whatever. But let's start like wrapping up this. Nikki, go ahead, please.
So I think there's a bigger issue at play here when you ask, who should we invite? I think if you don't know who's building in your space and who's prominent in your space, there's a bigger issue, because we talk about all the time how we never see hardly any of the foundation members in game communicating with us, attending our events. I know there's like time zone difference and stuff, but there's enough stuff going on to where people in the foundation can actually participate in their product. And if they are and we don't know, then that's a bigger issue, because then they're not engaging with us when they're in game and doing those things. And so when you sit here and you say, who should we invite? Well, invite those people who are building. Invite those people who are building throughout the bear market, who are building games, who are building experiences, building events, those kind of people. And you say that you don't want to invite a select few of people because then you could just pick and choose. Isn't that what you're doing with the summit? I mean, that's why I decided not to go ultimately, is because it ended up being a popularity contest. And then I started getting weird messages about why I was included and I was personally invited, but people like Lostrum weren't personally invited. And a general email that you send out, that says, oh yes, I'm inviting you. That's not a personalized invitation if you're sending it to more than one person. That's a copy paste and that's not personal at all. I understand that there's a lot of people in this space and it may take time, but if that's what it takes to cultivate a culture that's there for each other and is actually a community, then I think it's worth it, because then we wouldn't have these conversations where there's weird tones. We wouldn't have this frustrations of like, why isn't anything happening? Because when we as developers put all this time and effort and energy into the platform and it's not reciprocated, like you just ignoring me literally 20 minutes ago, that sucks, because like I literally gave up my corporate life. I gave up pretty much my whole personal life to pursue this platform. Nobody asked me to do that. I understand that, but I did it because I believe in it. And when you guys don't equally believe in us back, it's like, how can we not be frustrated? How can we not want to get to the bottom of it? And the yes or no questions is because you guys literally dance around everything that we ask. That's why I don't go to the AMAs anymore. Every time I ask an actual legitimate question, it's like given a brief statement and then you guys dance, and it doesn't actually get answered. And again, that's why Lostrum gets frustrated, because he doesn't care about being like telling you how it is, where the rest of us are still a little bit like trying to find our voice and trying not to be mad, because in this industry and in this specific community, when you get mad or angry or non-wag me, then you're a villain. And then like everybody starts treating you different. So there just needs to be a lot different culture cultivated here. And it starts in the DAO, which is why I've been out of it the last 4 months. And it all starts from the top and goes down. So what I'm saying is if the people at the top aren't willing and capable to do that or have these conversations, then maybe they aren't the ones.
Thanks, Inti. I'm going to jump now before passing you to Lastrom and Sinful. I want to say that. Oh, okay, no problem. Just wanted to say that it's really interesting what you pointed about, like choosing the people, or who has to choose the people for having these meetings, technical meetings, or whatever you want to call them. I think if we want to like end this meeting someday at some time, we need to have some actionable items, right? So I'm going to take what you said, and I'm going to say that will be interesting if the DAO first defines what are DAO expectations about these meetings, about these technical meetings. And the DAO has also the power to choose their representatives. So I saw that Lastrom said something about creating a technical committee to liaison with the foundation. That's an interesting point of view. Maybe we can do that, but first we need to define what we want to do, what we are expecting the foundation to do. So if we don't have that, we cannot ask anything. So what I'm going to propose, and then I'm going to pass it to Lastrom and Sinful, is to define as a DAO, what do we want from the foundation? What do we expect from the foundation in terms of these collaborative efforts on exchanging information, on having more participation in the roadmap, whatever. We need to define that. And after we define that, we need as a DAO to figure out a way to define who are going to be our representatives for that. So that's what I wanted to say. I don't think it's on foundation end to define who are potentially going to be part of that group or whatever, if that happens someday. But just wanted to point that. So okay, Lastrom, you want to still say something? And yeah, sorry, before passing it to you, we also have
Wait, Fez. Ooh, so
sorry.
Why is this whole conversation in today, like people have been responding to Lostrom, but every time I get up and say something, nobody responds to me? That's not fucking fair. I'm asking questions. I was being polite, but now I'm not because I'm being fucking ignored.
I just responded to you.
I'm not talking about you. I'm talking about Yamel, the foundation, the people that we're having the conversations with. You're not foundation. You don't represent the foundation.
No, I'm not. I'm just saying that this question, I believe that we have to take it as a DAO and take ownership on that. I don't agree with like.
Yamel just told us that the foundation or the DAO has no power. So what's the point of that?
No, it's not about not having power. It's about proposing.
We did propose it, and that's why we're having this conversation, is because the proposal that was delegated to the reference client wasn't executed the way that we expected it to.
Okay, but we are talking about different things. Okay, we have the roadmap, and we have the things that I pointed when we started. We have the roadmap, that is something that I also believe could be improved, and we have the communication channels. So what I'm talking about right now is about the communication channel. So yes, there is the roadmap thing. It's definitely 100% on foundation side, but the communications channel should be a joint effort. And for that joint effort, we need to define as a DAO, what do we want in terms of communication? So if we want one meeting each month with the technical teams, well, let's propose that. If we want one technical conference each 3 months, we have to propose that. So what I'm saying is that there are different levels of involvement, both from foundation and from the DAO. The part of the roadmap, again, it's something that it's 100% on foundation side. And the part of communications, it's something that we should figure out together. That's the only thing I'm saying. That's what I jumped to answer you. Don't know if Jamal has something to say about it. I don't think so, because what I'm saying, but if he wants to jump, he can do it. And with that said, if you don't have like a follow-up question on that, I will pass it to other community members.
Your answer was not an answer to my question. My question had everything to do with the community and the way that they view the community and the way they interact with the community. It has nothing to do with the roadmap or anything like that. That's a completely separate thing. Like you said, we're talking about two different things.
Nikki, do you want to repeat the question, please?
You were asking, who do we invite to these things? Who do we have in these discussions? And I said, you guys having that even as a question is an issue. So how do we address this to where we have a more unification between who's actually building in the platform versus who has a ton of VP and who is attending these? Like you're saying two different things. You're saying that like, we don't want to make this exclusive, but we're going to have an exclusive in-world event, but we listen to the feedback, but then we don't listen to the feedback. So where is it? You never did initially answer my question of where the line is drawn. Like, where do you set the hard line of like, yes, we're going to listen. No, we're not going to listen.
I believe the governance proposal, the flow of the 3 stage is at the moment, the most legit representation of the DAO, in my understanding. That really differs from the builders. That I believe that's quite different. The ones who have the VP and vote, and the ones who have the experience building. So depending on what we need to decide, we do user interviews and get feedback from the builders. And in other aspects, the governance proposal are more representative of the willing of the DAO. Is this like clear, or do you think I'm dancing around the question?
It's clear and it's not clear, because anytime I go to propose a proposal, like I'll use the hand category, for example, I went around, did my research beforehand, and I asked different foundation members and DAO members what the probability of this like getting accepted would. And the number one thing that I got from both ends, not just DAO, not just foundation, but both ends, is just because it passes doesn't mean that it's going to happen. It's going to actually get developed. So in my head, I'm like, okay, so even if it's like literally 100% the community wants, and there's 12 million VP that says, yes, we want this, there's still a chance that it won't happen. Why? What determines that?
Because the execution relies on a third party. I think the implementation path can fail. We do make it a priority and execute it, and now anyone can enjoy hands. So I think the happy path work in your case, and I think you did the right way on including different members and getting the feedback on those who were involved in the development of that part. So that is the risk a lot of the governance proposal and the implementation part. But I think you can vote things that at the very end prove to be like bad design, or there's an impossibility on a technical level. And yeah. So,
but at the same time, I was proposing a new rarity tier that the community was highly in favor of, and I was told that that wouldn't be a priority right now. And so I stopped it at the draft phase because I didn't want to take it to a full governance page if it was just not going to happen. So like, I guess who is setting the priorities, and is the community involved in that process at all? Because I've never been a part of a meeting that says, hey, this is what our roadmap is. Do you guys know this? Are there other things that you want to add to it? We just get these random manifestos that just feel like they come out of nowhere and don't have really a lot of community feedback on them. Because whenever there's a manifesto, it's very vague and like random. And then like we get things like the camera or something that wasn't even in the manifesto. So it's like, okay, so where are these conversations happening, and why are they happening, and for whose purpose? Because a nonprofit usually has a cause and it goes towards like a greater good. And if the greater good is this community and this platform that you're building for the community, and the community has virtually no say in it, then what's the point? And I say community, I say the DAO, because like I said, I get told by everybody, just because it passes doesn't mean that it'll happen. So then I'm like, why am I even inviting people to the DAO? Why am I even voting in the DAO? Why am I even doing this if it literally has no power? If it still comes down to a centralized power, then nothing is decentralized and it's just an illusion.
Thank you, Nikki. I get the point. And I wonder what we can do different this time with the manifesto, and how open up the conversation for what our plans next year. So that's for sure something that I will keep in my desk on the pretty top, because the manifesto should be queued for next month. And we do have our plans, or a lot of what we expect, and to avoid like the core of it is doing a new client. Maybe I need to send a poll to the DAO. If everyone acknowledges that the performance of the current client is terrible, I think we want to fix that problem for good. So that's the main of the focus of Foundation for the next year, or at least what I want the people to be working at. But for sure, I think, open up in like many polls on that front. Then regarding the power of the DAO, the power of the DAO has a strict power on the smart contracts, the land registry, like updates to the land registry, the marketplace, the market of fleas. Those are like quite strict. And the DAO should be able to hire developers and be able to execute on that. I know in some cases that's out of their reach, or maybe its foundation has resources go and help in that sense and execute it, mostly when there is a lot of security stuff like updating a smart contract, getting audits from external contractors, many details to ensure that that goes well. For product features, we need to make all the initiatives to compete internally. Like we already have more things that we want to do than people that can do it. So I think like getting into that priority pipeline is the hardest part. And for us, really, before making a vote on which ones pass and which one doesn't, we need to have like invest a lot of time in understanding how this can be implemented. And that requires a lot of time. So what I'm really afraid of opening this conversation back and forth with the community is like the speed at what we can do that. Because we need to move fast. And if we cannot have a conversation open like for 2 months on a topic. Yeah, but I'm going to take this as a reflection point on how we develop the new manifesto for next year. And I will need to drop in 4 minutes.
Yeah, that was I was going to say. I need to drop too, a few minutes. So we still have some people with their hands raised. So let's try to keep it short and simple. So first in the line was Sinful. So you want to share something, Sinful?
I believe Lastrom was first, but for me, it's actually like pretty quick. Maybe something that you can address next time we do something like this. It's regarding like social media, a totally different topic. I've noticed that like in the last like 5 months or 4 months or so, like that the Decentraland pages have been like less, kind of like liking less and kind of reposting less. Like I was like wondering if there was like something internally that was said that like to kind of like do less social media interaction. But I will kind of say that that interaction, even like with new users, if they see a Decentraland like that means the world to them, and it really helps for like retention. So yeah. Thank you, and I'll mute my mic now.
Thanks, Sinful. I think we should allow Kim. I already said this a couple of times, but I think we should allow her to respond that. And then, yeah, last time on Miss, let's, again, keep it short and let's start wrapping up this meeting. Kim?
Hey, I can do a very quick answer to Sinful, which is no, that is not an intentional thing to do less. I'm reviewing, it's honestly a bandwidth thing. So we've had a priorities and content review that we're doing at the end of this year. So it is on my list of things that we are improving already. But I appreciate you bringing it up. In regards to the conferences, I think this was like one of the first points. I just wanted to let you all know, we are doing more conferences next year. That is part of our strategy. As you know, Yamel's newer to his role. I've been in this role only about 6 months. So conferences like that take a lot of budget planning, organization, getting invited in some situations, building partnerships. So that is something we will be doing in 2024 and beyond. Not just Web3 conferences, but also thinking about gaming, marketing, where are people that want to partner, developers that want to build, and users that want to play. So there's 3 different buckets we are looking at. So I just wanted to make sure I addressed Lastrom's very early comment on marketing in particular.
Thanks, Kim, for clarifying that. I believe it was really clear. So we have space for 2 more questions or comments. Let's go first with, I can't recall who was first. Lastrom, go first, and then Miss, and then let's wrap it up.
Okay, yeah, wrapping it up. Yamel asked what I would do differently, and I would stick to what I was asked to do. The proposal says the reference client is delegated to the foundation. So as a DAO member, I want accountability for that hired work. We don't have control over the funds. The foundation pays themselves. So I want to know what work is being done on the work we're asking to do versus the work they're doing. Because if we don't adhere to a proposal that passes in our DAO, what is the point of our DAO besides managing smart contracts? And again, it gets to the point of, if we are unsatisfied with the foundation's work in that delegated proposal, we as a DAO should and want to hire somebody else to build a reference client. Since we can't control the funds of the foundation, we need to seriously look at our funds and maybe pause the grants and build our own reference client. That's why, Yemo, I ask you, how many headcounts at the foundation are working on the work we're asking you? It's a very prudent question in re-evaluating if we're gonna hire you again. And when you say it doesn't matter if we rehire you for that work, you're gonna do it anyway, that just shows you don't care about what our DAO votes on. And again, I am trying to bring weight, accountability, and structure to what it means to have a DAO. We have millions of dollars in our treasury, you have millions of dollars. Those need to be put to good use. And if we don't feel like you're putting to good use your time and effort in something we delegated to you, we are gonna spend our funds elsewhere. And that gets to the point of, you want us to wait for your manifesto in Q4? No one on this call has been asked to participate in that, which gets to my other answer to your question. I put in a bullet point, liaisons as a committee with the foundation, and Fez brought it up. That is a direct answer of how we can do it. I'm not asking to be over the shoulders, being a micromanager of your team. What I'm asking for and required per the proposal that passed says an interactive and collaborative roadmap between the foundation and the DAO. Whoever put those words together, that is what it says. So when you say feedback, feedback does not equal collaboration, okay? Do you know feedback equals reaction? Collaboration equals proactivity. And none of the work done at the foundation is inclusive or proactive in the DAO. So my answer is, I want proactivity, communication, clarity, transparency, synergies when you create the manifesto. Not that I get to read it and thank you for submitting your feedback, it might get included. That's not how it works. If it is working like that, we need to change it. So when I ask you who's working on what, I'm asking as a DAO member, reevaluating if we should hire you for your time and effort, not the funds, because we don't have control of that. So I want everybody to be clear in the DAO, it's time to wake up and understand, what are we doing? Because the access to Decentraland is delegated to somebody else, and we just accept that. Other people as grantees are building other clients. We need to formalize the decision in February as a group of what do we expect from the foundation with the foundation's help. We should work with the foundation and say, here are the things we should do for the next year, yes or no. And then we should agree, and that should go into a proposal, and that should get passed. And then there should be quarterly updates if the foundation is delivering on those. Because guess what? We want to access Decentraland in the most seamless, most speedy, the best way possible. And you guys are not delivering that to us. So we want to know if we're going to take our time, effort, attention, and funds to a different developer core that can build a different reference client. So that is a long but simple answer. Include us in the decision-making, talk to appointed people from the DAO to the foundation to make these decisions, and let us know who and what are working on the work we ask you to do. If you can't do that, we have no point in being a DAO.
You want me to leave Jamal to respond that, or you want to jump into first?
Now let him go first.
Didn't get it. What you said?
I said let Yemo go first.
Okay. And then you have the last question or comment, and then let's end it. Jamil?
Yeah, my last comment here on the big picture of it is that Decentraland started as a project in 2017, raised funds, and started executing for 3 years. In 2020, launched the first client, the DAO also was created in the 2020. There was, I don't think, like an active DAO at the moment. The community started building. We are in the point in which I think we have a lot of active community members that really take care of the platform and they love the platform. Otherwise, they wouldn't be that angry. I also angry on the current performance. Trust me that, many times that's what takes my sleep, and that's the priority for me and the team. That's what we are working on. I think that foundation will continue working until it's out of funds. That's the vesting contract ends on 2030. And after that, the DAO should be the only entity that supports the Decentraland project. And we have 6 years to figure out how that transition will happen. And there are not clear answers on how we do that transition. I get the point on getting the people to vote or have a say on what foundation does. And the proposal about the delegation, something that we heavily need to review because it generates a lot of misunderstandings. And at least I believe we have a misunderstanding on how we understand that the proposal that actually didn't participate. So yeah, looking forward to evolve this relation, communication. I think at this point, the governance platform is the best place to conduct this kind of communications. And let's continue there. And I'm sorry, but I really need to drop now. I'm pretty late.
Thanks, Jamil. And with that, I believe we can wrap it up for today. If needed, we can set up another.
I just had one quick thing. I really just wanted to say, unfortunately, of course, he left. I wanted to ask if we could push back the update that's going to be happening with the URLs. Unfortunately, my question never got answered when I brought it up earlier. So I don't know, if he just didn't understand the question or what was going on. But, I'm very concerned that this update is going to break things potentially in multiple ways, maybe that are understood or not understood, that are going to affect themes that are going on for a major event in Decentraland, okay? So that's my concern, and I would like to prevent that if possible. I think even pushing it back 1 week could be massive. That's all I have to say.
Go ahead, Kim. Sorry.
I was just going to say, I can ask the team. It sounds like the concern is the switch before the holiday events. Is that correct, Mies? I just want to make sure I'm following.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So I think it's happening on the 18th. I don't know if that's the correct date, but it's going to change all the URLs and maybe some other stuff. There's always unintended, there's always the potential for unintended consequences. And, I just know that we have people that literally spend thousands of hours preparing for over a month already for this event from 5 different major projects and all kinds of stuff. And, we've had to work around other issues from the platform in general. So we've overcome those, but we just want to prevent future ones if possible, especially 2 days before our event.
Let me find out what's been, like on the technical side, what's been rolled out, where it is, and what it could or could not break. I don't know any of that from the technical perspective, but I can at least ask.
And I want to add that I actually changed Vroomway's APIs last night to the new URL that was suggested, and I almost lost our data and had to revert to a backup because it didn't like the /play on the end of the URL. I just had used decentraland.org, and that wasn't communicated very well. So if that's already happening now, I agree with Mies that it could probably cause other potential issues. So that's really important.
Okay,
let me find out.
Yeah, I was going to say that let's follow up on that, and maybe Kim, you can come back later. Or, well, I don't know what time is it where you are based, but if not, on in the next few hours or whatever.
It's early
on the Discord. It's early, okay.
It's early for me, but I don't know the people that can get me the answers. It's later for them, so I will see.
yeah, let's try to do our best. We can follow up on the Discord about that. So yeah, I have to drop too. I think, like, besides the fact that there was conflict during this meeting, it was productive somehow. So again, my idea is to summarize this and to try to extract the actionable items of this meeting. We can follow up on that too in the Discord or during another meeting. We have another strategic planning meeting next week, so maybe we can use that not only for discussing about the document that we're going to present, but also to figure out how we stand as a DAO with the foundation. How do we stand as a DAO with the platform in terms of ownership? So yeah, we can continue with that next week. In the meanwhile, again, I'll put together a summary. And yeah, thanks everyone for joining. Thanks also to the foundation for being part of this. So yeah, let's keep in touch, and yeah, I'll keep you posted about next updates. Thanks a lot for joining. Bye bye.